Hi, Kirk here. Thought I would do a little bit of a book review tonight. I was digging through the cabinet the other night looking for some books and stuff, and my wife being an English teacher and me being a book nerd too, especially about gun books and outdoor books and other stuff, I end up with books and books and books. Well, I have a book here that I found that I didn't know I still had it. I thought I probably did. I didn't think about it, but I was digging around the other night and found it, and I said, you know, I need to do a review of that book. Some people may want to go see if they can find it and maybe get a copy of it. The book that I'm talking about is a book by Elgin T. Gates. It's a book called The Gun Digest Book of Metallic Silhouette Shooting. Let me preface this by saying that when I was growing up, I used to live in the country, and I used to shoot my pellet pistol all the time at steel targets. Well, I found out about the sport of metallic silhouette shooting, and I found all the stuff I could find. And remember, this is pre-internet days. We're talking about 1978, 79, 80. You know, I was in middle school, and I had a Crossman 1377 pellet pistol that you pump up, and I used to have these metallic targets that I would set up at, for a pellet pistol, pretty ungodly ranges. I mean, we're talking like 35, 45, 50 yards, and I'm screaming a 177 caliber pellet out of this thing at maybe 800 feet a second. So, you know, it's got kind of an arching velocity, but I got where I was pretty good at hitting things with it, and, you know, ringing the little gongs and things. So I found out about silhouette shooting and started finding what I could on books and stuff. And I was at the Walden Books in the mall, and this is not the original copy that I had. This is the second copy. I bought this copy probably 10 years ago. I wore the covers off of the thing. I found it in the bargain bin. It was like a couple of bucks. This thing sold like $11.95 new. I think I paid like $10 or $11 for it and another book off of eBay a couple of years ago, 10 years ago when I bought this. But I literally wore this thing out because it has got some interesting information in it. Dated, very dated information, especially when it comes to the reloading data. If you are a reloader and a shooter, please use good data. Reference your data from good places. Talk to people that know what they're talking about. You can always call your powder company or your bullet company and talk to them about data, and they're more than happy to talk to you about it because they do not want you to have a catastrophic failure. Use good manuals, use new manuals. Do not go back and find a manual from the 1950s and assume that just because it said use X with this bullet that it is correct. What you find in here is the data some of the data that's in here is quite dated. I would not recommend, without cross-checking the data that's in here with modern data, use any of it. That's just a safety thing. I've been reloading for 20 years and over 20 years, and I can tell you from the standpoint of safety, you do not want to take any shortcuts. Now let's get back to the book. Many people don't know who Elgin Gates was. Elgin Gates was a fairly remarkable individual. He owned a boat company, made his money doing that. Got to travel around the world because of him being able to just cut loose and go. He traveled around the world and hunted big game, took pictures, published a book that is still well known of big game animals, photos he took in Africa and other places, of all kinds and manner of creatures while he was hunting. He also was an international trap shooter. He had a world record for several years of breaking over 1,000 targets in succession. Won a lot of big matches, Olympic team, I think, just a lot of stuff. But he got involved with metallic silhouette shooting, both rifle and handgun. He got really big into handgun shooting. He was working with Juris Automag fame. He won, he was let's see, all kinds of information in his bio on the front page. But this book was published in '79. The chapters in this thing include how it all started, talking about silhouettes across the border. Remember that silhouette shooting actually came from Mexico. They had live animal shooting. They'd take pigeons and things and tie them to stakes and shoot them. Well, we don't do that in the United States, so they switched to metallic silhouette. And they're shooting rifles it ran, as a rifles, as silhouettes at NRA Nationals, hand loading for silhouette shooting, silhouettes in the hunter, first national handgun silhouette competition, production class stuff, a limited handgun silhouette shooting, cartridges, all kinds of stuff on all kinds of topics about handgun silhouette shooting. Now this has the original sets of rules in it, and diagrams for targets, and just all kinds of pointers about how to do things. It is an interesting read, really. Fun read. A lot of cartridges, a lot of pictures, a lot of commentary by Elgin Gates, a very young J.D. Jones. Anybody who knows anything about contenders and encores and hunting handguns knows about J.D. Jones and his handgun hunting escapades and other things that he was involved in. It's a long time ago, but J.D. Jones is big into the contender things, Thompson Center contender handguns, and there were a lot of Thompson Center contender handguns used in silhouette shooting. Talks about Wes Ugalde, the 7 TCU, 6.5 TCU, 6mm TCU class rounds. Really interesting book, interesting read. If you're interested in silhouette shooting or the history of it, or you just want something that you can kind of flip through and find some good historical commentary on firearms, there's a lot of interesting stuff in that book. Like I said, I would not use the loading data without cross-referencing it with modern loading data, because there has been such a change in powders, a lot of change in primers, main change in powders. Case in point, if you go back and look at Elmer Keith's loads that Elmer Keith used to develop the 44 Magnum with, the data in here for 296 or H110 and 2400 for 44 mag ammunition has been decreased by several grains. Elmer Keith decreased it after he developed it originally. He said it's too hot. He decreased it, and then as powders have changed, they've been decreased again. Same thing with H110. H110, the load for H110 and the 44 mag with a 240 grain projectile has went down a good bit, like 2.5 grains since this era. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this little talk on this book, and got any questions, drop me a line. Have a good one.